Oh, that's fine. I'll just re-engineer this lawnmower, and it'll take me to the Riddler.
Welcome to We're Not Critics, or Torn ACL Central. AJ, show the good people your cane. This is his cane. I brought mine in solidarity. It's pink and his is gold. So AJ
Looks
tore.
like a copper.
Yeah, he got it at CVS. Yeah, he was just pretending to be a Tuscan Raider. So AJ tore his ACL. And if you haven't listened to me in like 2 seconds, you may not have heard that, oh, I tore my ACL too about 3 years ago. So, been there, done that. We're going to have a lot of time on our hands. So, this episode is about our ride or die favorite movies. We will never get rid of these DVDs. They have seen us through some hard times, and they are going to see us through AJ's convalescence.
Also, I have to apologize for us not doing a Bollywood thing this episode.
Well,
Fairly certain on the last one I said the next thing we should do is a Bollywood episode. So all I can say is go watch Royal Stag Films on YouTube. I think that's what they're called. A subscriber suggested them, and they're pretty awesome.
yeah.
We watched one. It was very sad. It was very cool. Go check them out.
Yeah, it's these video shorts. So,
Yes, 30 minutes. If you want Bollywood or Indian film in general in 30 minutes instead of 3 hours, there you go.
yeah. So, today, keeping the tradition, I am having some whiskey, but I'm having, instead of TX, I'm having Blackland whiskey, which is made right here in Fort Worth, Texas. So, yeah, sorry about the Bollywood thing. We kind of had other things on our hands, like AJ tearing his ACL. So, that's been fun. Anyway, you want to get started with our list?
Okay.
Okay. The first one is Annie. Annie, the musical. This has been one of my favorites since I was a child, and it is one of the DVDs we watched during the Great Texas Snowstorm, Ice Storm of 2021.
Where people died.
Yeah, thanks to our awful governor and ERCOT, but that's another story for another day. So I like musicals. I like dancing, all of that. I didn't think AJ was really a musical sing and dance type of guy, but he loves this movie.
It depends on who made it.
Okay, so why do you love Annie?
Whoever wrote Sweeney Todd, I like Sweeney Todd, but I hate all of his musicals. I fucking hate him aggressively. I don't hate this. I really like
Annie is not by Stephen Sondheim.
Yeah, there you go. That guy. I can't stand the way he writes musicals. That's exactly the type of music I think of when I think of dorky ass musicals I cannot stand.
Well, this is not a dorky ass musical. This is badass.
I mean, yeah, it's about like a homeless orphan in the Great Depression.
And they
It's
all
pretty
do
cool.
gymnastics. And Carol Burnett, I was watching the last season of Better Call Saul today, and Carol Burnett is in a couple of episodes, and I was just thinking about Miss Hannigan singing the little girl song when she's drunk. Yeah, so Annie's awesome.
The acting, the people that got to be the personalities of these characters, it's all really
The dancing,
it's amazing.
everything. Tim Curry's in it.
It's it's there's some characters who aren't treated that well racially. Like the asp has to have
A gong, and
gong
stuff.
and
He's Asian,
shit.
so they've got to have Asian music playing.
But the
yeah.
actual characters, they're cool. Like
Yeah.
I enjoyed them.
Yes.
Bon job.
Yeah.
Fucking. Anyway.
Drop page. Okay, next one is Black Dynamite, starring Michael J. White. And you, why don't you talk about this one? Because you picked this up in Half Price Books, which is this used book and CD and movie store in Texas.
I'm not even sure how I
He
landed
insisted on buying
that.
this.
I was probably just because I was like Michael J. White comedy. I've never seen this before, and I wish I'd seen more like the types of films that in the style that this is based on, I could appreciate it more.
Like 70s
But
blaxploitation
even if you
films.
don't have a good history with those films, it's still hilarious. So I don't know. Like, I wish Michael J. White had more options to be funny. Because he's hilarious in this. And it was like just... It seemed like it was a bunch of friends got together and they did whatever the fuck they wanted. And they, took parts from blaxploitation and like kung fu movies and... I don't know, man. It's just... Yeah, there's nothing else like it. Machete is similar, But even then, like nothing is the same as this.
Machete's not silly the way this is silly.
No, this is ridiculous.
Silly. It's really silly, and it's very quotable. We'll just randomly quote it to each other. Orphans. I used to be an orphan. Okay. Next one is an animated film, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, which we've mentioned before.
This is what you call Elseworld Comics, I think.
What does that mean?
It's an offshoot. It's not a part of the...
Not part of the canon?
It could either be just, like, cool idea for villains and stuff, or it could be, like, a world change sort of thing. And that's what this is. It's like... It's in the Pig universe, the Babe universe, but because it's like sort of London and it's sort of America.
When you said Pig, I thought you meant the movie Pig. I thought you meant the movie Pig with Nicolas Cage, and I'm like, how is it in the Pig Nicolas Cage universe, in the Babe universe, and explain why. Sorry,
I just was.
Well, I had to mention Nicolas Cage. So
I'll reiterate, it's not England. It's not America. It's not Australia. It's just
Canada.
It's white people land. I don't know.
Some have British accents. Some have American accents. It looks like 1890s London.
Yeah, it looks like it's like a little. Some parts are a little suburban place in England, and other parts it's straight up London, and then. But it's supposed to be New York or something, and
it's Gotham.
So it's like it's a big hodgepodge. There's a bunch of movies in this universe. We've mentioned them in other podcast episodes, but one day we'll just have to do an explanation of the Babe, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sort of universe.
That's off topic. So this one has a Jack the Ripper type of killer, and so that's the mystery. And Bruce Wayne / Batman has to go after them. And it's cool because it's all like 19th century weapons and 19th century technology.
Yeah, Batman almost fits in that time period better than in a modern time period. Because in a modern time period, you have all these obvious questions that you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense because me. But it's harder to do that with like...
Or you can explain things away with magical technology, which back then they didn't have.
Which is basically... Yeah, Batman does that a lot. Oh no, there's no way we could trace this signature of this thing. Oh, that's fine. I'll just re-engineer this lawnmower, and it'll take me to the Riddler. Like, calm down, Batman. This is probably my favorite like alternate world idea of Batman. Mm-hmm. So,
speaking of Tim Curry from Annie, we have the classic It. Stephen King's It from 1990 with Tim Curry as Pennywise the Clown.
He was pretty terrifying.
He was.
He's also, like, he's good as a clown.
He's an asshole. Hiya, Georgie. He makes me laugh. But I stay away because it's Pennywise. Now, I liked some things about how Bill Skarsgård played Pennywise, like Under the Bleachers with the Firefly, that part. But we hated the new version of It. Hated it. We knew it when we went to the theater. We're like, this is awful. We hate this so much.
First one was okay.
Well, it was
the
made
sequel,
for TV.
terrible.
Oh yeah, the first half, part one.
Yeah, it was okay. Yeah, but yeah, like Pennywise comes off kind of like
a child,
mentally
almost
challenged. Like, yeah, he comes off like a child, childlike. Childish. Tim Curry, if he wasn't an evil child murdering, oh, there goes our light,
our ring light died.
Eater of worlds, then he would seem like a cool guy. like he would probably be able to get along with kids really well. He would talk to them like adults. He wouldn't belittle them, and he'd be able to keep their attention. And you can sort of get why some people like let themselves get too close. The new one, I don't know why you would even walk up to that dude. There's no way. But yeah, Tim Curry's the shit. And it's a better adaptation to the book.
It is. It stays more true to the book. And granted, they were both about 4 hours long total. So
ABC
they had time.
Family miniseries. Like, how? Like, how did you...
Yeah, why would that be a mini... I get why it would be a miniseries, but why that subject for ABC Family?
But they did such a good job. And it's actually based in the right time periods.
Yeah, so I'm
sorry, you don't have to update everything.
Well, but there was this thing for a while with that and Stranger Things where everybody was
It's
everybody
the
my
80s.
yeah, with the 80s. Now I'm seeing things on Instagram with like obsession with the 90s and 2000s. So I was a child in the 80s, I was a teenager and a college student in the 90s. I get the nostalgia, but it's kind of lame that there is this trend of let's make it the 80s in all these movies and TV shows. I think we're past that because the Gen X people are tired.
I don't know if we'll really get that for the 90s and 2000s. I will know if I see a scene where a kid is using one of those 1-foot jump rope things.
Oh yeah,
Then
I
I will
remember that.
know if
Well,
it's 90s.
I think I see it more as like little quick reel trends on Instagram. Like this chick had a dress with a little white t-shirt under it, which I had one of those, and a backpack purse and lip smackers. So it's more of like let's look at the fashion and the music. The music was pretty good from the 90s and the 2000s. But anyway, this is not a comparison of the It movies. So back to real stuff from the 90s.
We just like to hold on
Yeah.
to the good one.
Yeah, the
is
good
our
one.
point.
Yeah, we hated the new one, love the old one. Okay, next one that we will never get rid of is Joker with Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, so amazing.
We've talked about this a couple of times in our podcast. When we went to see it, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew something was out there. I remember sitting with him at the table saying, "You want to go see this Joker movie?"
Yeah, I was I was like, Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah, but I'm sitting there and I have mental illnesses, which I've talked about on here before. And I leaned over to him at one point. I was like, I feel seen. And so I know they're kind of making stuff up with the laughing, and in some of
It's kind of a real thing.
it does, yeah, like a nervous tick, like like Tourette's or something like that. But I felt like the depiction of mental illness was more accurate in this than I've seen in other movies that are kind of more real world depicting mental illness.
Yeah, which makes me wonder. I wonder how a sequel would like show Arkham Asylum and things, because it just seems like that's the go-to for everything in Batman is like.
And they are terrible at Arkham Asylum. It's like a Romanian orphanage from the 1960s.
What if we just we stuck them in a big pit and let them fight it out?
Mental health care is horrible in Gotham. No wonder they have supervillains.
So yeah, I could see some people being like, no, the Joker's supposed to be like so out there that you can't empathize with him. But if you think about this as like maybe the original Joker, because the comics have this one storyline where there's like 3. If you think of him as like the original person who inspires the later what you're used to psycho Joker, and he's had a shit life, he's fucking, and no one treated him right, then it's much better.
I kind of like it as a standalone movie.
Good.
It's so good. And then there have been comparisons to Taxi Driver, which I get. I'd seen Taxi Driver before I saw this, and then I made AJ watch Taxi Driver afterwards, and it's kind of the same, just like this scummy city. Mm-hmm. There's this one guy who's mentally troubled, and he wants to kind of fight back. And ironically, it was Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver who has a role in Joker.
Yeah, so stamp approval.
Yeah.
From them. And I like that it calls out fucking Bruce Wayne's dad.
And they make Thomas Wayne an asshole.
Like, I'm sorry, but
by the time
he was probably a dick, a billionaire in that time period that somehow can't find. Well, I don't get it. All these lazy piece of shit fucking clowns.
No one wants to work anymore.
Life sucks for everybody. Leave people alone.
By the time he walked into that alley behind the movie theater, I was like, bye. Good.
I mean, I don't want it to happen, but
I do.
I won't feel bad
Fuck
for
Thomas Wayne. All right. Next one is Lonesome Dove, the miniseries based on Larry McMurtry's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, and I think we've talked about this briefly. It's part of our Summer Chill series. We have both listened to the audio version book, all 37 hours of it, and the sequel, Streets of Laredo. I recommend really the book above Lonesome Dove because it's so incredibly written, but
there's a lot missing.
It's pretty good adaptation. There are some differences, and I actually cried at one part in this that I wasn't expecting because I was kind of thinking about what was happening in the book. It was after something really bad happens to one of the female characters, and she cries, and I'm crying, and Gus is crying. So I almost said Robert De Niro. Robert Duvall is so good as Gus McCrae, and I really do picture him as Gus.
Yeah.
In the book.
Now that we've listened to the audiobook, the only thing I love Tommy Lee Jones, but we watched it first. Waited a while. Audiobook came back. He is not Call from the books.
He smiles too much.
Yeah, he's too fucking happy. I enjoy him, and he's a good character in his own version of Call, but it's a different dude. And I do like, now we're not doing a comparison, but I do like that, he's hard to understand in the book.
He's the only one that doesn't really get, Larry McMurtry goes into everybody's head in the book, except for Call. So I thought that was an interesting choice.
Just a hard person to understand.
But back to the miniseries, I had always avoided it. I grew up in West Texas.
It's too country.
I have this weird relationship with West Texas. Like, now I'm super nostalgic and homesick for it, but back then I didn't want to listen to country music or do the things that my little classmates did because I thought they were all dumb, racist rednecks, hillbillies. Well, not hillbillies, that's East Texas. Rednecks are in West Texas. I wanted nothing to do with that type of culture, so I always avoided Lonesome Dove, and I thought, oh, that's just for those dumb hicks. But we watched the miniseries, and it was amazing. Then I listened to the book, I'm like, oh my god, I love this. So now I have changed my ways. I have cowboy boots. Sometimes I listen to country music. Sometimes I let my accent come out. So I had avoided it for all this time. I'm like, how many other Westerns have I turned my stupid little nose up at because I was like, oh, that's for rednecks. So I am eating my words. I love this miniseries, love the book. I love Streets of Laredo. I'm ready to listen to all of Larry McMurtry's books, read all of his books.
Yeah, I've never been a big Western person either. As far as film. But Robert Duvall, I can pretty much give whatever he makes a shot.
He does the accent perfectly. I'm really picky.
And he's from California.
I am so picky about Texas accents in movies and TV shows because they always overdo it and they talk like this, or they sound like they're from Georgia or something. Like they drop their R's, which isn't a thing in Texas.
Or they're Michael Caine.
Or they're Michael Caine. Oh, yeah. So Robert Duvall does a perfect Texas accent. Let's move on to Oldboy, the original Korean version. I had watched this on Netflix. Oh. And then later I watched the American version with Josh Brolin, but I really prefer the Korean version.
If you wanted a perfect version, you would take everything leading up to the end of the Korean one, and you would add the very end of the American one.
Yes, I do kind of prefer
That's
the way the
one
American
thing they
one
got
ends.
is the ending, and we won't say what either one of them is.
No, because we want you to watch it. But this movie's so cool. Koreans make some good movies.
Yeah, suspense and horror stuff they're really good at. It's such a weird premise. It opens with a drunk asshole just going around town being vaguely drunk and vaguely asshole-ish. And he gets kidnapped and thrown in a room, and years go by.
20 years go by.
Yeah.
And you know what I was just thinking? It feels like the premise of a short story. Like, a guy gets kidnapped and he's left in a room for 20 years.
But it's based off of a manga. Like a Japanese manga. I think a Japanese manga. Pretty sure. Which I think is also very different from the films. But anyway. But yeah, he gets trapped for years and years and years, and he decides, I guess he's like, I'm bored, I guess I'll train. And then he's let out.
And so he tries to solve the mystery of who locked him up, and he fights a bunch of people along the way, and it's a mystery, and there are clues. And so it's really fun. It's fucked up. Both versions are fucked up. So I recommend both. I think I still prefer the Korean version, but I recommend both if you're a fan. If you like this version, go ahead and watch the one with Josh Brolin. You won't be disappointed. It's just a little different. So, moving on, Rocky by Sylvester Stallone. Best movie series ever.
Best, long-running, over 3 movies.
Yes.
There are some movie series have 3 or 4, and that's, usually the cap. And then there are a couple that are like, we're doing 9. And this is the only one that's good the whole
Over
way through.
30 years. Yeah, and this first movie's just so good. The character of Rocky, I love him. He's so sweet. And even though he's a big goon who beats people up, but he has a good heart. He's very sweet, and that shows throughout the whole life cycle of these movies. And we admire AJ's getting into screenwriting.
Sylvester Stallone is the shit. Okay.
As far as screenwriting and everything, yeah, he's someone AJ looks up to.
I've had to send Melanie 2 little, because she's trying to write too, a book.
I'm an author, not a screenwriter. He's the screenwriter.
I tried writing a book too. But I've had to send her 2 little clips of Sylvester Stallone talking about the way he writes, and he just like, the reason I'm faster than anybody else, for the most part, is I do not stop. Like, just get it out, doesn't matter, get it out. 90% probably gonna suck. But then you got something you can work with. Procrastination is like the devil for people who are writing, because it's really easy to give into it. Like, I hope the phone calls. Now, he went so far as, like, he blacked out his windows and ripped a phone out of the wall. But
I'm not gonna do that.
I'll do that in a smaller dose. But I loved watching an interview he did where he talked about, I hate that people call Rocky a sports movie, because it's a love story about a guy who, he happens to be a down and out boxer, and this is his way to, you know, feel like he's getting his life on track. But it's about him trying to get in a relationship with Adrian. That's the whole point, is this man's trying to get this woman's attention, who she doesn't think she's good enough for anybody either, and it's just nice.
It is, and I'm not a big boxing fan. I do martial arts, so I like watching MMA and stuff like that. But I don't care for boxing movies like Cinderella Man and stuff. I get bored, but I never get bored with the Rocky movies. So yeah, it's really more about the character of Rocky. And I guess this runs in the family because my dad loves it, and he was playing it for my niece who was 2. And by the end of it, she was like, Rocky, Rocky. So she loves Rocky. All right, next one is Sideways with Paul Giamatti, Thomas Hayden Church, Virginia Madsen.
We've probably talked about this.
We have
movie
multiple times. Part of the
5
Summer
or
Chill
6
series. One of our favorite movies. It's about wine, which is funny because AJ does not drink. He doesn't like wine. Not interested. It's a good story. The acting is so good, and you know, Miles by Paul Giamatti is not a likable character, but he still gives him some pathos, and I still feel some sympathy for him. And I'm not one of those people like, oh, I don't like this character, therefore this movie is bad. You have to have unlikable characters, but if you can make me like an unlikable character and still feel sorry for them, or at least see their side of the story, then that's some good writing and some good acting.
Like, if you took Paul Giamatti out of it, I don't know. Like, the character would probably still work out with another good actor. I would think. I don't know. Like we've read the books, and I hate Miles in the book.
Oh, I hate him.
He's such an asshole, and he's...
But not a fun one.
No, he's lying to himself. He says, I'm not a snob. Snobs are people like this. No, dick, you're a snob. He's fun in his own way, and the things he has to go through are interesting in their own ways, but he's not a likable character. It's much harder to deal with. In the sequels, it's fine. But anyway, so Paul Giamatti makes you like really be okay with following this guy around and just being like, oh.
Because he's kind of an insufferable person, but I don't like him. I never will like Miles, but I feel bad for him, and I want to see what happens to him, and I want good things to happen for him.
I believe this version of Miles knows how to be a personable person.
Yeah.
I do not believe that the book Miles knows how to do that. He
has no soul.
He is written to look like he can be. And in the sequel book, where it's sort of like he is actively telling his own story and he's talking about his previous story, they're all first person. It's made to look like he's a person people want to be around. I don't get it at all. But in this, I can see him turning on the charm sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know, he knows how to be a real human being. Mm-hmm. He just happens to be kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and it's just a chill movie. This is one of those that I can watch every 6 months.
It's a great
over
buddy
and over
comedy.
Again. It is a good buddy comedy. And Thomas Hayden Church is hilarious. So the next movie is a very niche movie, Stick It, by the same writer who did Bring It On, which was about cheerleaders, and Stick It is about gymnastics. They don't call it gymnastics. And I haven't done neither one of us have done gymnastics, but we like to watch it.
Well, I've done gymnastic training.
That's right, you
as
have.
an adult, not as a teenager or anything like that. Not like, what the women do where they do the floor stuff and do all the flippy spinning.
Jeff Bridges is in it. It takes place in Texas, supposedly. A little bit of Plano at the beginning.
It looks like Texas.
Houston at the end.
Yeah, it looks legit. Uncle Rico's in there a little bit.
Uncle Rico is her dad in it.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about this movie, but I would never want to get rid of it.
No, it's got good music. It's funny. It's got some serious parts, but it's kind of an anti-hero story.
It has great female protagonists. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how to put this, but it seems like people making movies have a hard time making a really good female protagonist sometimes. Yeah. Especially when it's female-led, like as a film. But in this, like, I don't know what it is, like, if it's Missy Peregrine or what, but I don't know. Like, it's, no one's insufferable, except for the ones that are meant to be.
And she's still, she's troubled.
She's not perfect.
Yeah.
She struggles through shit, but
she is unlikable in some ways, but that makes us like her.
Yeah, she's funny. She's kind of bitchy, but, like, in a way that you can accept. She's not just being a dick to people all the time. I don't know, man. Like, okay, they're written like real people. Mm-hmm. They're not written like they have to be perfect at everything.
Yeah, she's definitely not a Mary Sue type of character.
No. So, I appreciate it for that.
So, anyway. Moving away from female protagonists, we have Undisputed III, Redemption, with Scott Adkins. We will never get rid of this. I'm like a little kid. Like, every once in a while, I just have to watch it. And for fun trivia, Scott Adkins does Taekwondo like both of us, and he tore his ACL, just like both of us.
And then he fucking filmed Expendables 2 on it.
Wait, they tore an ACL? I think it was before he had surgery. I watched an interview.
He was like, just wrapped it up and.
But also, Yuri Boyka got his leg broken in half by Michael J. White in Undisputed 2, so it has knee rehab, which I know intimately. He knows it from watching me go through it, and he's about to go through it himself. So if you've injured your knee, Undisputed 3 is a good motivational movie.
Yeah. And to go back to my earlier point about female protagonist films, this movie has a sequel. It's all women. It's awful.
No, that's Never Back Down.
Is it?
Because there's the fourth Undisputed where he fights against that Ukrainian mob member.
This is all Yuri.
It's all dudes.
My bad. But still, we did a video on that one, so go watch that.
Yeah, Never Back Down. Yeah,
and it's in this. You could believe it. They're in the same world.
They could be in the same universe. That's where it gets confusing.
In fact, that movie feels more like an Undisputed film than it does a Never Back Down film.
And this is the first time I'd seen Scott Adkins in a movie, and I know he's British. I've watched several interviews with him. I've seen several movies now, but it sounds weird to hear his real accent. I'm so used to that Yuri Boyka, that Russian accent. Whether it's a good one or not, that's how I picture Scott Adkins.
Fucking Americans.
Yeah, something like that. Like, I wish I could think of an actual good line.
He also doesn't talk much, so
yeah, so
he's an interesting. You kind of want to know more about him, and you never do.
Definitely a good anti-hero. And then also, there's a really good side character named Gaga, who's a Russian guy who's just in it. He's kind of a Russian gangster, and he's in it for the money. He helps Yuri out every once in a while. And he's always eating something, and he's just funny. Like, we wanted him so badly. Like, a couple of movies were like, I wish Gaga would just show up and say something funny.
Yeah, I hate that he wasn't in the fourth one somehow.
No, I wish so badly he was in that one.
Because he's like, it feels like they just had a little side character, and the dude that was playing it was like, can I, like, have this weird thing with, like, my diet? Where, like, in the first time you see me in the first movie I'm eating, like, burgers and fries constantly, and then in the second movie, all I do is eat vegetables and bitch about how hungry I am all fucking day.
Yeah.
Like,
I love Gaga.
he's so interesting.
Yeah.
And he's also kind of a dick. He's definitely a bad guy, but he makes you like him.
He's fun. I kind of want, you know what I want is there's another character in here named Turbo, who's an American guy, and he and Gaga kind of escaped together, and I so wanted a buddy comedy of Gaga and Turbo.
Yeah.
Just tearing it up, making money, doing illegal shit. Turbo and Gaga make that a thing. Okay, our last two are animated movies. The next one is Watership Down, based on Richard Adams' novel, and I have to admit, I fell asleep the first time I watched this because I thought it was boring. But then I read Watership Down, which I'd never read as a child or anything, and I loved the book. And it's just about rabbits. Even Richard Adams wrote a note at the beginning. He was like, this is not symbolic of anything. It's just rabbits. But it's so freaking good. And so then we rewatched it, and it follows the book really closely, and it's good.
It's an amazing adaptation. This is on the list because of me. That's all there is to it.
This is his pick.
I fucking love this movie. I watched it when I was like 18 because at some point, you know, you hit that age where you're like, what are like fucked up kids movies or whatever.
This isn't really a kids movie though.
Well, I mean, shouldn't be, but kind of is.
Just because it's animated.
Warner Brothers Animation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not like they marketed it to adults.
No, but in America, that's still like, oh, if it's
Richard
animated,
Adams
it's for
wrote
kids.
this for his daughters,
Yeah, that's
who
true.
were kids.
Yes.
So,
okay.
But,
Anyway,
I felt watching it like it was taking this really simple story about rabbits trying to not die and made it feel like almost like a Lord of the Rings quest type of movie.
yeah, for real.
It feels that important, even though it's just a bunch of rabbits who are probably only going to live to 5 years old anyway, finding a new home because human sucks, you know. But there's like lore in it, and there's like mythology and stuff that's cool. And
they have a god that they worship. Yeah, they have their own language.
It sounds kind of Egyptian.
There's a pretty scary villain.
Oh yeah, the villain's terrifying. For a rabbit.
Yeah, for a rabbit, he's crazy.
The
he's
voices
scary.
are really good. John
Yeah.
Hurt is one of the main guys. There's several other people you would know if you read their names. I don't remember them though. So, but it's a good fucking movie.
It really
and it was
is.
such a random find. It was so random that I found it at all. I wouldn't want to let it go. So
No, and we got most of these at Half Price Books, which I mentioned earlier. It's a Texas chain. It started in Dallas of used books, but they also have CDs, records, Xbox games.
and one day they will take over the world like
DVDs.
Amazon.
I love them. I have
Maybe.
bought and sold so many things through Half Price Books. So it's rare that I buy anything new. I just go to Half Price Books. All right, the last one is something we bought new because it was amazing. It almost fell out of the case. Is Your Name. Why don't you talk about this one? Because you saw it first and then you got me into it. And you're more the anime person than I am.
I mean, it doesn't. You don't need to be anime entrenched to watch it. It's just, it's the most interesting. Like, I know gender blender is a thing, and I'm not really. I don't care one way or another about that genre, that mini genre, but it's probably the most interesting, most well executed gender blender I've ever seen or heard about.
It's kind of like the Lake House, but good. So this boy and girl will sometimes switch bodies, and it's kind of in different timelines too.
Well, that's all we're saying. That's it.
That's all we're
because that's
saying.
already sort of a little like, huh?
Yeah,
What?
I don't want to give too much away. And it's the animation is beautiful. I think we talked about it. We did an episode on anime for people who hate anime because I was one of those people who thought I hated anime. But it's just a good movie. It doesn't matter that it's a Japanese animated movie.
No, the only complaint, because I don't watch subs, like, fuck you, I don't care.
And that means
Like,
subtitles.
yeah,
You listen to it in Japanese and you read the English subtitles.
I watch dubs, and oh yeah, if you're just listening to this when I say fuck you, I just mean nerds, weebs. I don't.
He didn't say that to me.
No. I'm just like, you're fucking man. Anyway, I watch dubs, okay? It's hard for me to read and then pay attention to what's going on. I'm going blind. Fuck you. Anyway, so dubs are cool, but the guy that does the music's really good in the movie. It's all done by one band, and I don't know the name, and sorry, but he has a very good English accent, I guess, like, but all the songs are translated into English. You should have just left those Japanese. It's the only thing I'll complain about. I don't need the Americanized version of the music for the movie.
That was like with Belle. Because the music was better in Japanese than it was in English.
I'm more okay with that because she was a performer in her other life or whatever. So that I was like more okay with, but in this, I've seen both sub and dub. So I know I really, really love the music the first time. In the English, it's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's not the same.
And this has one of those moments, if you're watching it for the first time, where you're like, no! Where you think something really bad happens.
And if you're a guy, you'll go like, like, that's all you'll do.
Oh, you've cried when we watched anime.
But in movies, moments like this that she's talking about, if you're watching it with a woman, generally, or someone that's actually, as long as they react to it first, you're just gonna be like, it's okay, it's animated. Like, that's how you're gonna react.
I have sobbed my guts out over anime.
So, it's funny, it's gonna hit you hard emotionally, all that stuff. It will make you either feel like maybe love is real, or it will make you feel like, well, love isn't ever gonna be as good as this.
Was it Marvelous who said, man, love
isn't
real?
No, that was Terrence.
Okay, one of his friends watched it, was like, man, love isn't real.
Like, a love like this doesn't exist. I'll never be like this. So, yeah, it'll hit you. It'll hit you.
Very, very good movie. I don't know if it's probably on Crunchyroll, but if you don't subscribe to that, it's
actually
probably
currently
not.
Right now it is. They don't always have films,
okay.
But Suzume is out in theaters, so right now they're showing a bunch of that guy's movies. This is one of them. So, if you watch this and Suzume is in your area, I doubt it is. It's been out for like a week, so it's already gone probably because anime movies don't get to stay in theaters very long. But if it is, go watch that shit. I haven't done that yet. Cribble. But
we've been a little busy with his torn ACL.
Yeah. We will. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go watch the Spider-Verse movie, but yeah, I'm not going to the theater right now for Suzume. Sorry. I know it's gonna be good.
I guess I'm driving him to see the Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Deal with it.
I guess we're doing that. Can I talk about honorable mentions?
Yeah, now we can get to
okay, so mentions. This will be quick. So we were going through our DVDs and like, oh, I love this one. I don't want to get rid of this one. So these are our ride or die in this stack that we went through, and these are honorable mention. They're pretty good, but we just don't watch them as often. So first I have Australia, which is a big epic film by Baz Luhrmann.
It's like a classic film. It's a modern classic
it's
style,
kind of like a classic epic
film.
Movie. Next one is Cruel Intentions with Reese Witherspoon and Ryan Phillippe, and if you're in your 40s, you know this movie. It's hilarious. Like, it's serious but also funny on purpose. So number 3 is The Descent, which is a really great horror movie.
It's very unique.
Yeah, it's good. The next one is Dumb and Dumber, which I saw when it came out with my brother, and we've been quoting it ever since, so I'll probably never stop thinking that movie is funny. Exorcist 3, going back to horror. Yes, the third Exorcist movie. Usually when you get to 2 or 3 in horror series, other than Sinister, they're not good. But this is George C. Scott, General Patton, Ebenezer Scrooge. I think he was an Academy Award winning. George C. Scott is in this movie and he acts his ass off. It's so good.
It's just a good, as long as you accept some of the premises of the movie, it's a good ass movie. It's
a good movie.
It's like the Planet of the Apes films. They're really fucking good if you accept the weirdness of that title. Also, George C. Scott and his priest best friend are amazing.
Yeah, I want a buddy movie of those two.
I want Sideways, but like their life version of Sideways.
Yeah.
Like, he buys him a fucking penguin, but then talks shit to him while he does it to help him while he's in the hospital. Yeah, it's funny.
George C. Scott is a cop and his best friend's a priest, and they talk mad shit to each other all the time, but they love each other as best friends. So anyway, last one on our list is Unleashed with Jet Li And Bob Hoskins is a pretty scary villain.
He's got the voice for it. Even though
Yeah.
he's short and round and
He
old.
was scary.
Yeah.
It's a really good movie. It's got this weird, sad premise.
As Morgan Freeman said, that man could talk some serious shit.
Yeah, so it's like an action movie, but it's a good thriller if you don't like action movies.
It's on that list because I don't actually care for Jet Li that much. But I love that movie.
Yeah.
I like him in Fearless. That's his other, like, best martial arts movie ever.
I liked the one. That was cool.
That's so dumb.
I liked it.
It was enjoyable, but it's so dumb.
Yeah. Okay. If you want to see us argue about movies, you can find us at We're Not Critics on YouTube. Listen on Spotify and iTunes. AJ's yawning, so it's about that time to wrap it up.
I did not yawn.
You yawned before, so now I know it's wrap.
When?
Before.
How long before?
Oh my god, I'm not doing this.
Minutes before?
Anyway, we are also
Seconds before?
we are also on Instagram at We're Not Critics. So tell us some of your favorite ride or die movies you will never get rid of.